Welcome to our Afluencer podcast, where we connect micro influencers with brands and e-commerce stores and small business. Today, we've got a special treat. We've got Interscare Sleep, which is a YouTube channel podcast that helps people basically fall asleep by reading scary stories. So something that I'm looking forward to helping my 9-year-old with. I don't know if the scary story will be ready for her or not, but in terms of the amount of time my wife and I spend in her room waiting for her to fall asleep, it's extensive. So anything that can help with that, I'm always interested in. So welcome here, Interscare. Can you let us know a little bit about your background and how you came up with this? This is very, very unique. It almost seems, when I was first reading about it, almost counterintuitive, right? From hey,
Yeah.
let me sleep, so let me hear something that scares me, but I'm very interested in that sort of juxtaposition there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm a father of three. I'm a husband. I've always had a passion for media production and content creation. I'm a huge horror fan, and all of these things combined just kind of led me into the direction of the channel. So yeah, that's kind of where it started, was just my passion for media production, content creation, things of that nature.
Really interesting. Was it inspired, I guess, also with the kids helping them fall asleep? I know as a parent, I mean, especially you've got three, I only have two, which seems easy compared to you. I know it's a constant every night, right? It's a whole process. Is that what kind of inspired this, or like, hey, we got to fall asleep a little faster?
Well, it was actually my wife, believe it or not. She had listened to other channels in the niche before I ever started, such as, Being Scared, Mortis Media, Let's Read, people like that. Huge shout out to them. They are pioneers in the genre. And she was listening to them and she was just like, hey, you have a voice that I think could fit this niche. And she was like, will you create a video for me to help me fall asleep? Because she wanted louder rain sounds
Okay,
because
yeah,
she
the noise
likes that
machine.
white
Yep,
noise.
yep,
And so I created the first video for her. And at the time, I was actually running a Twitch channel. And I had tried a few different YouTube channels and a few different niches that I was interested in, and none of them really worked out. And I was actually running a gaming Twitch channel where I had a very small but supportive following. And during that time, my wife, like I said, was watching people like Mortis Media Being Scared and things of that nature. And so she asked me to create that video for her, and I created it. And a few of my Twitch followers also were interested in it, and they listened to it. And they listened to it like every night. And they complained because, like, for a month, I hadn't created a second one because I was so focused on trying to grow my Twitch channel. So I finally created the second video. And overnight, I never expected it, but overnight, that second video had like 2 or 3 thousand views. And I never really expected anything to come from the Interscare Sleep channel when I first created it. It was just for my wife and a couple of the Twitch followers that were interested in it. And like I said, it just took off. And making those two videos really showed me and my wife that we could have an opportunity here. So we started optimizing it. And actually, like, before that video took off, I didn't even have thumbnails on the channel. It was literally just a black picture. That's all it was. It was a black screen in the thumbnail. And it was like Interscare Sleep episode 1 for the title or whatever. So we started optimizing it and, really putting work into SEO, into writing good, catchy titles, into making good thumbnails, things of that nature. And that's where it really took off.
yeah. That's it. That's when you know you're onto something great, right? Is when it takes off so quickly. I'm with your wife on the white noise thing. I got this fan that's pretty loud, and I've been using it since college. I mean, this thing's been cluttering and thunking along since 2001. And when it has moments of not surviving, those are the scary nights for me, where it's like this
Yeah.
is done, and then and the thing's huge. I mean, we've had people redoing our houses. She's like, "Why do they have smaller fans?" I'm like, no, it's got to be this fan. It has to be this one. So I totally get where your wife's coming from. I appreciate that. Break it down for me from why does this work then? So I love your background. It's your voice is very comforting. Your background is interesting and terrifying all at the same time, right? So it's a great mix. Why does that put people to sleep, being scared?
Yeah. And that's a question that I've heard a lot. actually. I get that from people who don't listen to scary stories to fall asleep, things of that nature. But you got to remember that all people are different, and just like someone that wants to listen to a fairy tale story to fall asleep, there are others out there that love to hear scary stories. And while my channel is mostly geared towards helping people fall asleep, I mean, the whole name of the channel is Interscare Sleep. There are some people that choose to listen during the day, like a podcast, instead of going to sleep. But as far as actually putting people to sleep with scary stories go, I think that people enjoy hearing people's personal accounts of scary things that have happened to them. And a lot of times, the person that's listening to the scary stories might have actually had some scary things happen in their own life. So it's almost comforting in a way, knowing that you aren't the only one going through scary situations or having creepy encounters and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's an interesting insight. Instead of just grinding about yourself, which a lot of people do right as they're falling asleep or when they wake up, you're almost, it's almost out of body experience, I guess the way you put it,
Mhm.
right? So you're living through another person and their own scary experiences. So as you mentioned, so it's a competitive, it turned into a competitive niche, right? Interest,
Mhm.
as there definitely people who do enjoy the scary stories, like you said, whether they're, walk my dog after this and I could dial up the podcast of Interscare and just listen to it, like you said, as a podcast or when I'm falling asleep. But, competition, right? Something works and more people do it. What's been your biggest differentiator in your eyes that have led to your success with the channel and podcast?
Well, I think that one thing that my audience really respects about my channel is that from the very beginning, I've been extremely receptive to constructive criticism and critique. I mean, I read every comment on my channel so that I can learn what viewers want to hear. I try to tailor make my videos to be exactly what they want. And I'm always trying new things. Sometimes new things work and sometimes they don't. But, trying new things can always lead you to figure out what your audience is going to be receptive to and what they want. Like, for example, I recently, I've always done black screen stories where I tell true stories, people falling asleep, et cetera, et cetera. But recently I did a fully on camera video where I'm reading the classic horror novel, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. You see, that's something that's not really exactly what I do on my channel, but that's just one example of trying something new to see if it works. And a lot of my audience was really receptive to it. Some of them weren't, and, weighing that balance.
Yeah, does it take some thick skin then as you're reading the comments through because you try something new and some people like it, some people don't, and they're it's your brand, it's your baby, right? Interscare, and I mean, I get it. I care a lot about our brand, and you see these and you want to read everything, but then you don't want to take it personal. Is this something you have to kind of learn how to balance that?
You do have to learn to kind of balance that. But the way that I look at it, my mindset is that nobody's really trying to be mean. They're even when you get comments of absolute hate, people saying they hate your channel, they can't stand what you do, et cetera, et cetera. You just got to look at it like, well, it's not for them. You know, that's one thing that I really did struggle with in the beginning because in the beginning, my content was not great, to be honest. And nobody's is when you first start. It's a learning process. And I would get comments saying, you're not fit for this. You're never going to make it. Nothing's going to work, et cetera, et cetera. I actually had creators with 100,000 subscribers reach out to me on Instagram and say, hey, you need to quit because you're really bad at this and you're making our niche look bad. And that stung a little bit, but I was like, at the same time, that person isn't me, isn't going to be able to affect me in the way that I want my channel to be affected. As long as the people who view my channel really love what I do, that's all that matters to me.
That's a great way of looking at it and important insight, I think. And you touched on that as well with the people who want to listen to fairy tales falling asleep versus people who want to be scared falling asleep. It's a big wide world out there, and there's
Mhm.
these different cross sections. And as business owners, right, we can serve a specific cross section. We don't want to necessarily need or want to be all things to all people, right? So to your,
Mhm.
I think that's a great insight. It's like this is my audience this is not my audience, so I need to focus over here on this audience. Let's talk about something that then is sort of a necessary evil, I guess, of content creation is we got to monetize everything that we do,
Yeah.
right? So we got creating all this good content. How do you monetize the channel, and how do you have it work for you so that you can make it a ongoing, sustaining enterprise?
Well, first and foremost, I'm in the YouTube Partner Program, obviously. So I run the YouTube ads on my channel. I don't do a lot of them though, because my channel is geared towards helping people fall asleep. I do one ad after the intro and maybe very rarely, sometimes one ad after the first story or something like that. But they're all within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the video. I never put ads near the middle or the end, because if someone is asleep and it's like Raid Shadow Legends, then they're not going to be able, they're going to wake up from their sleep and never watch my channel again. So that's one way that I do it, is with ads in the beginning of my videos. And then I also have memberships on my channel where people can, pay, kind of like a Patreon, but it's on YouTube, where people can pay like 99 cents is what I have the lowest tier set at. And they get day early access to all of my videos. They get their name on the screen. They get members only content, et cetera, et cetera. They get different perks and things. And then I've also used influencer marketing in the past. I love Afluencer. Obviously, that's why I reached out.
Awesome.
I don't do brand collaborations all of the time, because I only want to collaborate with brands that I personally believe in and that have products that myself and my family will personally use and that I believe that my audience will really enjoy. And this is where I got to give a shout out to Afluencer. That's one thing I really love about your platform, because on Afluencer, you can really find out a lot about the companies that you're going to be working with. And you can really choose and tailor make your experience and find brands that you really want to work with.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And I was trying to, it makes sense when you see it on TV as well, back in the day, right? When you're watching this and then the commercials come on and it is so much louder. I appreciate that you're only running those commercials, I guess, if you will, on YouTube early on. And that's awesome that we've been able to provide you with some brands that kind of fit, and you can, I assume, read the ad in your soothing voice, right? So it doesn't interrupt from the other flow of the podcast. Is that where you see this evolution of creator and influencer marketing going in the next few years? Is it kind of going to go in the same direction? I know from our standpoint, my goal is to have more and more brands for you to be able to choose from, right? So that, hey, here's some brands that want to, more and more for Interscare, right? Because then that more choice we can provide for you, I think the better for you, and also for the brands as well, to get to know about you. But what do you see in your eyes in terms of how this is all evolving from the influencer marketing standpoint here?
Well, I actually looked up a statistic on this, and it's really, really interesting. Did you know that YouTube users watch on average 1 billion hours of YouTube alone per day? They watch over 1 billion hours of content on YouTube alone. That doesn't include other platforms like podcasts, Rumble, Twitch, etc. So I definitely see influencer marketing continue to grow and thrive. With traditional marketing, it's showing commercials on TV or in a magazine, somewhere like that. And it's interrupting the experience that users are having on those platforms. But with influencer marketing, it's completely different. A brand can actually be integrated into the content. Like, I've done ads before for different brands where I've told scary stories that their product could have helped with in those situations. Like cyber stalking stories integrated with a VPN ad or something of that nature.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So they can be integrated into the content in a very seamless way. And with influencer marketing, you also gain a certain level of trust from the audience, because a lot of times the audience has a level of comfort and trust with the creator. So brands automatically will get that comfort and trust with the audience if the creator is the one that is giving that, rather than just, hey, interrupt this for a commercial break or whatever. So I definitely see influencer marketing continue to grow and thrive, brands getting into it, and it the numbers speak for themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's staggering in terms of the YouTube videos watched. Though there's a book I was reading recently talked about sort of the story of human evolution and all that, and kind of brought up. I thought something I hadn't thought of, that reading and us staring at screens all day is relatively new. I mean, it's
Mhm.
500 years old or something. This is not. We're not really built to read for 8 to 10 hours a day like we do, right? Staring at our screens versus listening or watching. That's something like we were kind of built to do. So then I thought back to over the last few years. You think of like the growth of podcasts, and there's all these podcasts are it's flooded, it's cluttered, there's no more room. But then like, really, isn't everything's kind of going that way? Because then you can listen during the day or as you're falling asleep, and it's uninterrupted. It's more now, almost more natural to our
Mhm.
condition or what we're built to do. So yeah, that's interesting on the YouTube stat and the trends that you see there. How about the sleep industry in general? Any trends that you see that you pick up from your followers? You're getting all the comment stream and that. What do you see going on in just sleep industry in general?
Well, there's a lot of good, and then there's also a little bit of bad. One of the great things that I see is the myriad of new creators that are coming into the genre and just giving people a multitude of different voices that they could listen to fall asleep. Even though it's quote unquote adding competition for me, I don't see it as competition. I see it as opportunity for collaboration and things of that nature. And I absolutely love to see how many creators are getting into the genre. But on the flip side of that, with a lot of new creators getting into the genre and with the rise of AI lately, there's also a lot of AI voices now getting into the genre, which I'm personally not a fan of, because with AI storytelling, you really don't get that personal connection that you would get when someone is live reading you a story. And while most of my videos are faceless, I do put a lot of my face in a lot of my videos as well, which with an AI voice channel is something that you just simply don't even have the option of doing. And for me, I think that there's just something comforting about a real person, reading stories to people with their real voice.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's kind of more comforting versus a little creepy, I guess, if you
Yeah.
will, with the computers coming up with the voices on that. How about future goals then for Interscare Sleep? What are you looking at the rest of the year, next year?
Yeah. One thing that I'm really looking forward to is expanding my channel into new topics and stories that I feel may bring a broader audience to my channel, and actually people who have never listened to scary stories to fall asleep, but may be interested in some of the topics that I'm going to talk about. Then they'll be introduced into the niche, and I'm really excited for that. That's one of my big goals, is bringing new people into the genre. And I'd obviously, like the normal YouTube stuff, like big number, YouTube plaque at 100,000 subscribers, growing my other social medias, things of that nature. But my true goal for the channel is really just to help people fall asleep. You know, I have sleep apnea myself, which leads to a lot of insomnia sometimes. And I know that listening to other creators in the niche really helps me sleep. So I just want to give other people that experience of being able to fall asleep comfortingly and, just help as many people as I can.
That's great. And then we'll get you out of here on this, but how can people find, follow, listen to Interscare Sleep as they fall asleep or go about their busy day?
Yep. You can find me on YouTube, just youtube.com/interscare sleep, or just search for Interscare Sleep on YouTube. That's INTERSCARE sleep. You can find me on Twitter at Interscare Sleep. I'm on Instagram at Interscare. And you can find me on, Spotify, Apple, all those things as well. Just Interscare Sleep.
That's great. Great. Thank you. We'll get the links here, and we'll also get the link to your Afluencer profile there as well, so brands can collab and reach out as well.
Excellent.
Well, Interscare Sleep, thanks so much for joining us today and for giving us this interesting background in terms of helping people fall asleep and do it with a human voice reading to them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks again.